It was the sort of warm, scented evening that Caroline Chance associated with holidays in Greece, with glasses of ouzo and flirtatious waiters and the feel of cool cotton against burnt shoulders. Except that the sweet smell wafting through the air was not olive groves, but freshly mown English grass, and the sound in the distance was not the sea, but Georgina's riding instructor, intoning, always with the same monotonous inflection, "Trot on, trot on." Caroline grimaced and resumed painting her toenails. She didn't object to her daughter's passion for riding, but neither did she comprehend it. The moment they had moved to Bindon from Seymour Road, Georgina had started clamouring for a pony, and of course Patrick had insisted she should be given one. In fact, Caroline had grown quite fond of the first pony. It was a sweet little thing, with a shaggy mane and a docile manner. Caroline had sometimes gone to look at it when no one was about, and had taken to feeding it Ferrero Rocher chocolates. But this latest creature was a monster, a huge great black thing that looked quite wild. At 11, Georgina was tall and strong, but Caroline couldn't understand how she could even get on to the thing, let alone ride it and go over jumps. She finished painting her right foot and took a slug of white wine. Her left foot was dry, and she lifted it up to admire the pearly colour in the evening light. She was sitting on the wide terrace outside the main drawing-room of the house. The White House had been built, rather stupidly Caroline felt given the English climate, as a sun trap. The stark white walls reflected the sun into the central courtyard, and the main rooms faced south. A vine bearing rather bitter grapes had been persuaded to creep along the wall above Caroline's head, and several exotic plants were brought out of the greenhouse every summer to adorn the terrace. But it was still bloody freezing England. There wasn't much they could do about that. Today, though, she had to concede, had been about as perfect as it could get. Translucent blue sky, scorching sun, not a gust of wind. She had spent most of the day getting ready for tomorrow, but luckily the tasks she had allotted herself, arranging flowers, preparing vegetables, waxing her legs, were the sort of thing that could be done outside. The main dishes, vegetable terrine for lunch, seafood tartlets for dinner, had arrived from the caterers that morning, and Mrs. Finch had already decanted them onto serving plates. She had raised an eyebrow. Couldn't you even bring yourself to cook for 8 people? But Caroline was used to Mrs. Finch's upwardly mobile eyebrows and ignored them. For Christ's sake, she thought, pouring herself another glass of wine, what was the point of having money and not spending it? The riding lesson was over, and Georgina came bounding across the lawn, long blonde rivers of recently plaited hair streaming down her back. "Mummy," she called, "Dawn said my rising trot was more controlled than it's ever been. She said if I ride like that in the East Silchester Gymkhana—" She looked impressively at Caroline. "Then what?" thought Caroline. "Then you'll win? Then you'd better give up?" She had no idea whether a rising trot was supposed to be controlled or utterly abandoned. "And my jumping's getting better," added Georgina. "Oh, good, darling," said Caroline. Her voice was husky, roughened by cigarettes, and lately a bottle of white wine nearly every evening. "Nail varnish," said Georgina. "Can I put some on?" "Not on those filthy nails," said Caroline. "You need a bath." "Can I, when I've had my bath?" "Maybe, if I have time." "I want bright pink." "I haven't got any bright pink," said Caroline, wrinkling her nose. "You can have this pretty pale pink, or red." "Red? Ugh!" Georgina pulled a face. Then she jumped up onto the terrace and swung on the back of Caroline's beechwood chair. "Who's coming tomorrow?" "You know who's coming," said Caroline, carefully applying a second coat to her left foot. "Nicola's coming, isn't she?" "Is she better yet?" "Getting better." "Shall I take her riding? Is she allowed?" "You'll have to ask Annie. I don't see why not, but make sure you take Toby, too." "He's too little to go on Arabia." "All right, then, he can watch." "Can I be in the tennis tournament?" "No." "Can I wear my tennis skirt?" "If you want to." "Can I be ball girl?" "You can if you want," said Caroline, "but you'll get bored."
No, I won't, said Georgina. I know how to do it. You roll the balls along the line, and then you hold them up and throw them to the people playing. Poppy Warden's cousin was a ball girl in Wimbledon, and she saw Navratilova. I can serve overhead, too. She threw up an imaginary ball and took a swipe at it, bumping into Caroline's chair as she did so. The nail varnish brush smudged. Fuck, said Caroline without rancour. No one's going to see your feet anyway, said Georgina. Will you put some on my fingers? After your bath. You need clean nails. Yours are all horsey. But Georgina had lost interest and was doing a handspring on the lawn. Caroline, who had once trained as a gymnast herself, looked up. They didn't teach them to finish off properly anymore, she thought, to land neatly and present to the judges with a pretty smile. At Georgina's boarding school, no one took gymnastics seriously. They did it to strengthen the girls for more important pursuits, netball, lacrosse, and always the horses. None of them seemed interested in competitions, show routines, shiny leotards and ribbons, the stuff of which Caroline's childhood had been made.